Hello YouTube, this is Ben Gessel. I'm going to keep this particular video pretty short, but I wanted to mention in some videos, probably most likely tomorrow, maybe hopefully maybe a few more tonight, but wanted to mention at least one thing that I definitely know pretty well. I'll have a lot of information regarding. Um, so this video is kind of all about the differences between Western and Eastern Washington State. Now, I know a lot of different folks out there are very inclined to identify more with a specific region of their country or a specific state or specific area of state or whatever. There's a bit more specific kind of culture in certain areas. And in all honesty, Western Washington is the size of certain nations as it is anyway, and Europe and other places. Um, so the differences, some of the main differences between Western and Eastern Washington. First one's traffic. Yeah, you're gonna have a little bit of traffic maybe in Yakima, and Spokane, Tri-Cities. Perhaps it's a little bit worse than it used to be, but believe you me, there's nothing in Eastern Washington that remotely compares with traffic jams on I-5 and I-405 and other areas nearby the Puget Sound. The Puget Sound is just it's a parking lot during rush hour, and I'm gonna have make another video that addresses more specifically Seattle traffic and road rage because it really is a reality. Californians, just realize, if you haven't already, that if you want to move to Washington because you think traffic's really bad in California or whatever else is really bad, that Seattle has kind of become a mini San Francisco in some places, which it's fine. We like San Francisco, but it's not the pristine wilderness it used to be in some places. So, yeah. But then again, some people love California, so I think California is great. But I've only been on there on vacation, so yeah. So Western Washington lives in traffic. Well, geez, we have a lot of liberals over here. We have a lot of that's just fine. Just some liberals are more, um, you know, some folks are fine, great. My best friends are liberals. Other liberals are annoying as heck. So there's just a lot. Western Washington has a very high concentration of folks that are very progressive, as they like to call themselves, progressive coffee drinkers, um, very tolerant toward the LGBTQ community. It's a big thing in Seattle, but Seattle especially. I mean, it's outside of Seattle. It's a more mix, of course, of different kinds of folks. But so Seattle is a mecca for all those folks that like to drink coffee and like to have, I don't know, hemp materials for things. I think you get the idea what I'm trying to say. That's Western Washington, as well as high tech in Microsoft, and there's a lot of very secular. Along with that train of thought, there's a lot of secular folks, people that are not religious in Western Washington. It's fine, whatever. But Eastern Washington, again, it's very conservative and very church going. Western Washington is kind of fruity. Eastern Washington is very practical, and if you're not a farmer, then you're probably most likely going to work in some more practical occupation or being a teacher or something. Most likely. So make it this short because I want to make it. I kind of try to mention a few more things, but in summary, in that regard, Eastern Washington is the Mountain West. It's very white, and if you're not white, you're probably um, Hispanic or Mexican or American Indian, most likely. And Western Washington is everybody. So we have people from India, we have people from Asia, we have people that are Asian American and Indian American, we have Afro American, we have white, of course, and we have we have Arab folks and Persians and Russians and and Mexicans and American Indians. So we have everyone, um, and so there's a huge difference. It's it's a really big difference. If you want if you are ready to settle down somewhere and you want to live in Washington and you want to live in a place that, uh, well, the landscape, of course, in Eastern Washington is drier, of course, for the most part. You have some areas that are greener, but if you want to live in a place that, if you detest the left, liberals, well, probably a good idea not to. There are places in Western Washington that have more conservatives. You just have to, kind of a question of certain where you're talking about. Like Vancouver has some areas that are more conservative, but boy, if you really just want to associate only with conservatives, you consider certain areas of Eastern Washington, especially if you wanted to do farming and something else, be like a veterinarian or whatever else. So hopefully that makes some sense. And that being said, there are folks that still want our state to be divided in two. And personally, I think that's actually a pretty good idea. But the conservatives and those folks in Western Washington still like to have Eastern Washington as our other go-to area because it helps us feel less lonely in a certain sense. Like, oh, hey, if we really get bummed out over here, we can always go to the east side where people are, going to church on Sunday. So, all right, I'll catch you guys later. Okay, take care. Bye.